What's up, Milwaukee and the world? Welcome to another episode of Believers After Dark right here on Saved and the City TV with your girl Iberia. And yes, you are locked to the right place at the right time for your kingdom solutions for real world issues. I'm so excited to be here in the Neo Soul production studios here today for another episode of one of my favorite segments on Saved and the City TV. And again, this is your first time. Believers After Dark. It's real, it's raw, it's uncut, but it's absolutely necessary. And we deal with topics that might be a little controversial for some people at times. You know, it's not your typical Christian conversation, you know, but what really is when we really, step behind closed doors, you know. So I think typical is relative, you know, depending on exactly where you are in your life. But I'm glad that in your life right now that you are tuned in to Believers After Dark. And so what I'm so excited about is that I don't have to do this alone. Each week I have an amazing panel of folks that come and share in the topics at hand. And so today the topic is good grief. How can we use good and grief in the same sentence? I'm not sure, but I decided to do that. And so the synopsis is emotional grief. You know, when we're thinking about that, y'all, it's raw and it's intense. There is a constant struggle to comfort and be comforted as a form of resilience. You know, you want to, I'm strong, I'm good, you know, but are you? Sometimes it is difficult to find meaning in death, and that can leave us hollow inside. So how can grief be good? How can someone find gratitude during one of the lowest painful times of an individual's life? So that's what we're going to be tackling today. And again, like I said, I'm so excited that I'm not having to tackle it alone. I'm so blessed. I think that's even a better word to be sharing the table with some amazing women. And so we're going to go around the table so that you guys can meet them. I already know them. Beautiful, beautiful souls. And so we'll start with Kenza and we'll go around the room. Tell them who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Hi, I am Kenza Dawn, and I'm an artist.
Yes.
And I'm an advocate for love and self-awareness. Mm-hmm. So
I love it. See, such a simple introduction, but such a profound woman. Go ahead, Pam.
Hi, my name is Pamela Moore, and I am a former First Lady of Jeremiah Baptist Church. Mm-hmm. I am currently a social worker by trade, and love helping people. And I have found out what my ministry is throughout my grief. So, to help other hurting women. So
I'm so excited to just even have you at the table. You know, you just as sister friend, you know, and just and knowing Ray, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And then we did when we did the First Lady show together, and just even talking about, you know, what happens if you're the First Lady and then the pastor of the church passes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, what does that look like for you? So I'm excited to get into that as well. And then Jolanda, pass the mic that way.
Yeah. Hey, Believers After Dark.
Yes, our resident counselor.
So excited to be here. Yes. And really my role in the show is just to be a support for the amazing women here. There's so much strength right here at this table.
You can feel it, right?
It's powerful. This room is charged right now.
Wow.
And so I'm just excited to be here. If you ladies need me right now or afterwards, I just want you to know that I'm here. Talk consulting, tell your story, accept your truth, learn your identity, and know your strength. Shameless plug, you guys know.
I love it. One of our weekly sponsors right here at Believers After Dark. And Miss Jeanette.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Richardson.
Yes.
My brand name is Jeanette the Encourager.
Yes. Wow.
And I'm just thankful to be here. And by my career, I'm a realtor. Mm-hmm. But that is actually one thing that came through my grief. Mm-hmm. And then also I do a show called Uncommon Sense with Jeanette. Mm-hmm. And I'm using this season of mourning to just bring me to that open, wide place because I became empty.
Yeah.
So in coming empty, I asked God to just fill me with what needs to be there.
Wow. Oh my God. I'm so ready to dive right in. And so what I want to do is I'm going to just share a little bit of something that happened to me this morning, and then we can go into kind of just some of your personal testimonies and just sharing with the people, because there's so many people that are in the place either where you guys were or where you are. You know, and so the opportunity to just share. Sometimes you don't even have to speak to the person, but just for them to see you in motion, see you still moving, still getting up and still moving forward is a tremendous blessing. And so this morning, I woke up and Lord knows, sometimes don't wake up and go right to social media. And this time I did. I just, I was just like, I was like, okay, let me click. And I did. And someone had gone live. And it was just one of my Facebook friends, and he was kind of covering a story that was going on right on like 40. No, it's Townsend and Fond du Lac. Are you guys familiar with what happened? No. And literally, I can walk there. I can walk there. And so as I'm waking up and getting my day started, a little annoyed by this and a little annoyed by that, as I was turning over in my bed, a little baby girl was shot. In the head. And so it's like, how do I get up and move around and go to the same gas station that she was literally just shot by, and I'm literally walking over death. And we have to continue to move forward in our regular day and get ready for Believers After Dark. And that was the emotion that I felt this morning. And I didn't even see this woman. This young girl. I don't know who she was. I still haven't seen it. But that's what I felt without even knowing this person. I can't even I can't imagine, because I lost my father. But for some people, you can't even imagine the idea of, that's the feeling that I feel without knowing someone. What it feels like to lose a child, to lose a husband, to lose someone that you love, the father of your children. And so I feel like I'm still in the grief, honestly, through that process. But let's kind of go around the room and, really whoever wants to jump in first and kind of just share your testimony and the hard times and even the triumphs. Go ahead, Kenza.
And then she said, go ahead, Kenza, because that is what volunteering looks like, apparently. Well, again, I'm Kenza Dawn. Yeah. And 3 years ago in February, my husband and the father of two of my children passed away. He was 44. And he passed away from some health complications.
Which was crazy, because he was like the healthiest dude ever. Or at least that's what it seemed like to us, outside looking in, yeah. Right.
So that was a very, very interesting time. And it was there had been such a pattern of death within the family.
Yeah.
Preceding that. Right after we got married, his father passed not even a year into the marriage while I was pregnant with my second son. And 2 years before he transitioned, his mom transitioned.
Yeah.
I think 3 years before that, his auntie, before that, his uncle, before that, his cousin. So there had been like such a pattern of sickness and death in the family. So it was difficult from the standpoint of having young children who will not grow up with their father, and how to navigate that while still encouraging them to maintain a level of positivity, about life. Because at this point, and it was strange to me, they were used to going to funerals. Like, our family trips were funerals.
Wow.
Because somebody was always dying. And so those were the times, like the trips they took, they remembered, we're going to a funeral. We went here because we went to a funeral. We went over there because we went to a funeral. And so that was how their childhood was marked. And so all three of my children, that became what we did. And so when, not necessarily that they were desensitized, but because they had, it was a pattern of death. And so
that's interesting.
To help them to understand certain things and certain proclivities that led to some of the deaths and the illnesses that the families experienced, and being in a family that's been relatively unhealthy.
Yeah.
How to navigate that and how to not succumb to fear and worry about you personally, because it's like, if nobody in my family is surviving past this age, if I don't have any uncles, if I don't have any grandfathers, we have no elders, like, it's just us. And like, what does that mean for me? Because I know that the same blood that runs through their veins runs through my veins.
Wow.
And so just, encouraging them that, okay, everybody has these lives and our life is our own. And helping them to understand that there are things they can do even now to become more aware of their health, to take it into their hands, and to be proactive about things that they understand are trends or tendencies. So it was very interesting, but what I will say is I never in my life imagined my children were as ridiculously dope as they are.
Oh my goodness.
Like, for real. Like,
wow.
I just never imagined, like, because I was like, Kenza, we got to pull through this. Like, it's going to, I got to do what I got to do for and I got to make sure I got my mind. But the whole thing was like, oh my gosh, these babies are not going to grow up with their father.
Right.
And it wasn't a situation, it wasn't a situation for me where, like, their father was not there, did not want to be there, did not want to spend time with them kind of thing.
Yes.
And so, I mean, from the standpoint of someone having an absentee parent who happened to die in an untimely manner or something like that, that wasn't it. But at the same time, because the illness was progressive, they had seen so many things, and we'd been through to the emergency room so many times.
Yeah.
We had been through surgeries and procedures. They had seen the machines and the medications and everything that led up to what happened. And so it wasn't a situation where it just came out of the blue and blindsided everyone. I think from the outside in, that's what it seemed like.
Yeah.
But for us, we knew the severity of what we were dealing with in a very tangible sense. Because, like, I knew his numbers kind of thing. Like, I knew what his pressure was. I knew what meds he was on. I knew from a daily basis. So, people from the outside looking, it was like, oh, no, well, it's not that bad. And then it was like, because you're dealing,
he was like he was my trainer at one point.
Yeah.
So you did not see that. And I think that's one of the interesting parts is that from the outside looking in, I think that's the lens. We see from a very different lens at the person that we see grieving. And sometimes we're grieving for them, and that's, and they have a whole other kind of situation going on.
Yeah, and it's like, when you're dealing with, and this is another thing that I think is really, really important to understand as women, is when you're dealing with a man who is ill, there's a level of pride that will cause irrational behavior because no man ever wants to appear weak to anyone at any time, especially not in the presence of other men. So there are things that men may do that they should not do that is, counterproductive to their health because they don't want to appear weak in the sight of other people. And so they do too much. They go too hard.
Toxic masculinity.
And that, it ties directly into that, like the perception of what a man is or what a healthy man is or what a strong man is. And so having to play up to that. And then, the background. So he comes from a legacy of pastors and preachers and all of that added to the whole situation of needing to be strong and needing to feel like he was holding up a standard of faith for people. And needing to feel that, he was just like, no, it's not that bad. It's not that serious. So in our instance, everybody's whole experience is different, but it was a gradual progression. But when everything started to spiral to the extent that it was like getting really serious, Spirit told me, prepare. And so I was like, no. And then, get ready. Wow. And so I was like, okay, if this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. And so because of that, I believe that I was able to facilitate a smoother transition for my children and for him as well. Like, it was to the extent where I don't know how transparent I should be, but I just talk because it's whatever. Because I think this can really help somebody.
Yes, and that's why we're doing it.
People have ideas of what marriage is and what people are, and what they believe it is and what they believe it should be. We were married, but we were not together. We were going through a divorce separation period, for years. And so I was with him to assist him and to aid him. My children knew, like, mommy and daddy are not together anymore, but I'm here because I'm a rider like that. Like, if you my friend, if you my friend, I'm there for you because you my friend, and I will give you that base level respect. Like, you the friend, you my children's father. I'm gonna make sure you got your stuff together. I'm gonna make sure we at these doctor's appointments. We gonna rock this out. We gonna get you healthy. I'm gonna do what I can within means to make this happen. So it was like, it allowed for him to reflect on the relationship between us, the things that he regretted, the things that he wished he could have done better or differently. And the same thing with me. We had the opportunity to come to agreements and understanding that I think people often never reach. Right. And for me, there was such a peace about that because
you guys always looked like a united front. Like, even regardless of what you all were doing.
Because it wasn't, I just didn't believe that it needed to be another way. Like, my children know I don't need to broadcast to the world anything. Whenever, whatever is done, is done, is done. And it's like, we can be adults.
Yes.
We can be cool. We can, like, do what we need to do for our children and operate as a family. Because when you have a child with somebody, like, they're automatically family. Like, I'm going to be dealing with you forever and ever because these are my babies and they're attached to you. Why would, like, I don't, it was a beautiful thing that I was able to have closure and resolution and talk through issues that we dealt with in the marriage and to get closure about things and situations and to see him coming to different, deeper understandings about his situations and the things that he had going on, and to facilitate that whole process and to make sure that his children were there with him as much as possible and to make sure that he knew that we were pulling for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like invaluable. And I think that, there's a country song that I love, and it's called "Live Like You Were Dying."
I know.
He says, I loved deeper, I spoke sweeter, and I gave forgiveness I'd been denying. I finally got the chance to live like I was dying. And it's so dope to me because how often I think the awareness of death is beautiful because it makes you appreciate what you are doing in the time you are living in these moments. If if we think we're going to live forever, we're not there. We're not good stewards of our time.
None of us are getting out of here alive. Okay,
we're not good stewards of our time when we think that we have more time left. When we think we got next year, next week, next month, 10 years, 5 years. But when you know that death, and not from a bad standpoint, but that death is an ever-present reality in this realm, that just like you govern yourself differently. Like, you know what? I love you. For real. I'm going to let you know. I didn't appreciate it. I'm not going to deal with pettiness. I'm not like, I think that the whole cycle of death that happened around me helped me to understand that, like, I really don't have time for certain things at all. Like, my cutoff game is ridiculous, like a Gensu. Like, straight up, like, no, I don't. Bye. Because I understand how precious your time is, and I understand that you don't get it back. So whatever I allocate my time to, that's something I see value in. If I see no value, I'm not present in that situation, conversation, or circumstance. I just withdraw.
I love it.
And because we fear death, but death is what balances us. The knowledge that, okay, wait a minute, one day you're gonna leave here. Did you handle your business?
That's interesting and very true.
Did you handle it? You can't come back and
you can't even say when. Like, that's the other part.
You would like to. I mean, it's for us to be good stewards of our health and to be aware and to be present. But the reality of it is, most of us don't know. Some people do have premonitions, like, I got 2 months. Like, we didn't had elders who would be like, I'm gonna be gone in 6 months, y'all.
Yeah, they feel it.
So y'all come on in. Everybody who want to come see me, come see me now. That kind of stuff. But the reality of it is, we live in a world that's where a lot of us are not connected spiritually on a daily basis, where we're not connected communally, and so it's just, there's a lot going on.
Oh my God,
there's a lot going on, and the people that you saw last week, you don't see this week, and you got men, especially men, dropping in their 40s every day from preventable illnesses. Like, we have people who thought they were going to be around, who just knew it,
had all the plans,
gone.
Exactly.
And so when you realize that is a reality, it's like you take things you value life to the extent where you don't allow yourself to be steered in any direction that you're not guiding.
Oh my
like,
God,
not happening.
Kenza, you're on fire, sister. Let's talk a little bit to Pam.
Yeah, she was talking. I'm just stirred up on the inside.
Come on with it.
Tell
us a little of your story too,
so
but you
real.
can definitely.
So I met my husband, who happened to be a minister at the time. We met at church, and we honestly met, and the spiritual connection was right away. He was telling me that you are my wife. The Lord told me you're my wife. And I'm looking at him like, really? And he was like, really? So we literally met. I prayed about it. We literally were married within a year of knowing each other. And he, because he came from a lineage of family members who did not survive past their 40s. He literally did not think he was going to live past 40.
He didn't think?
No. He did not think, because his family members, some had, cancers.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I remember it was almost like a celebration when he made it past that time. And so I just remember it was an urgency within me. The Holy Spirit was just like, this is your husband. After I prayed about it, my family thought I was crazy. Everybody thought I was crazy. But people are obviously not on the same spiritual platforms. So we met, we prayed about it. He went back to Nashville because he was from Nashville. We were married a year and a half. We ended up that's when he became a pastor. So we began to pastor a church. And this is all just crazy, because who would ever thought that was one of my things on the list. I didn't want a pastor or a man to travel or a man with a small child. And I probably got all three of them.
Wow.
So as she was speaking, talking about being desensitized, we didn't have a lot of death in our family, but my aunt had passed away right before he did. My sister had passed away in 2009. Well, my dad and sister passed away, so that was really close to me. But it was when he passed away. It's been 10 years that he passed away. And I think that was the most devastating loss that I've ever experienced. Although I love my sister, I love my dad, it was way deeper than that. Literally deeper than that. I've literally had a pain on my left side of my rib ever since my husband's been gone. Literally
even now?
Even now. Wow. Literally feel empty, as you spoke earlier. Literally feel, even though, God is healing me and he's restoring my joy, I don't feel the same way I did 10 years ago, but I still feel a sense of loss and a sense of, when you were talking, I just wrote down a loss of friendships and a loss of relationships. People that I thought they were going to be with me, people that I thought they were going to stand by me, people in the church, the pastors here, and everybody loves the pastor in the First Family. Everybody's inviting you by, you're doing this and you're doing that, and all of a sudden when he passed away and went to be with the Lord, I felt as empty as I ever felt in my life. With people that I thought that would be in my corner, people, because I was grieving and they couldn't handle the grief. They can't handle you sad, they can't handle you crying, and they can't handle you hurt, so therefore they just shunned me. It was easier for them not to see me. And so, and grief is so necessary. You have to cry. And so people would say, you shouldn't cry, don't cry, or you're so young, you'll get another husband. So it was just when she was saying that, I'm like, I never thought literally that I would feel so alone, had been brought up in the church all my life, and just living and doing right. And so, if somebody would have told me 10 years ago that I would be where I'm at today, I would not have believed them, because the pain was so debilitating.
Wow. It
was so debilitating, so it was times that I couldn't even get out of the bed, and all I could do was pray and ask God to keep me in my right mind. And I was losing things. The church, the people, my stepdaughter went back to be with her mom. People in the church that weren't there for me, literally. Wow,
because the church then is a part of your identity.
It is,
and now you're no longer the first lady. They don't know where do they put you. Who's the new pastor and his wife? Wow.
So I literally just felt lost and abandoned for just months and years, not knowing what to do. I mean, they don't let you serve because you were the first lady, but you're not the first lady anymore. So now what do I do? And not only did my husband pass away, so my husband, he had a previous heart attack, years ago. So I kind of went into knowing that he had heart issues. Very healthy, though. He ate healthy. He was very health conscious. But he said that the same way that he gave his life to the enemy when he was in the world, he was going to give it 100% in the church. And so he preached like a madman. He preached like there was no tomorrow. He lived literally like today was. And he would always say, what better way to go than to doing what you love to do for the Lord. And my husband passed on the first Sunday morning in the pulpit.
What?
At church. At church. So now I have to go back to this place on Sundays, and I have to relive this this devastating, thing that happened to me. So you're dealing with that, and you're dealing with all kind of emotions, and then people leaving you, and so it was very rough. But between just the few, and I remember one Saturday, I was so sad and thinking about how can you have a flock of people that say they love you, but now that the man of God is gone, they don't act that way. But the Lord reminded me for such a time as this, in the Bible when I think it was Gideon in the army, he went to take hundreds of thousands of people down, but the word says that the people that lap up like a dog, that's the people that we can't use. And so I was like, all these people. But God had to remind me, but for such a time as this, I have placed people around you, the people that are going to give you the comfort and the words. And, so it won't be the magnitude that I thought that would be there, but there will be people. Because I was literally bitter. I was literally calling people, literally just like, how can you not be here for me? Like, why is it that you're, forsaking me? Literally. So, but I had to stop that because I was getting bitter. I was literally wanting to, his frat brothers, other pastors, people that I thought that would literally, rally, they weren't there. So it was a journey, therapy, friends, family, and just trusting that God and His promises, literally taking it one day at a time.
Wow.
And just asking, my only thing that I could pray was, God, restore my joy and keep me in my in my mind perfect. I didn't care about the material things so much because you could get those things back. But just want to keep my right mind and to restore my joy. And I must say that He is a diligent in what He promises us. And so it's a daily process.
Oh, my God. I absolutely love it.
Daily process.
Oh, yes, a question. Then we're going to go to break.
And maybe she can answer this after break. I don't know. But I just sense that there is something very powerful in you to be shared with everyone and to have that type of loss in a place where you found safety and security, which is the house of God.
That's where I want to go. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to know if you can share a little bit about how did you reconcile yourself to the Father after that loss, because there are people that's watching, and I talk to people all the time, and I hear things like, I can't forgive God, or I can't move past it, and they struggle giving grief its proper place. And I see that you've learned how to do that, so I just want to I want to know
that's so on you so my sister. I can't take it. You're just all in my life. Well, actually, just think about it, and we're gonna come right back after this, guys. I know it's heavy, but I know that there's people out there that can absolutely relate to this. So hopefully you can get some nuggets that can help you go on just a little bit longer. But we will be right back after this break. Thanks so much for watching.
What happens in our house stays in our house.
But what do you do when trauma happens in the house?
This is an invitation to finally talk. Tell your story, accept your truth, learn your identity, and know your strength. Talk presents a pocket message series offering resources to process, heal, and provide support for survivors. The series provides heart-stirring commentary on the reality of childhood sexual abuse, with insight from Dr. Ramona Woods, Dr. Mark Ongley, author Victoria McAfee, Sarah Reek, LPC, and Austin Reese of Lotus Legal. This series includes 3 messages that can be purchased for $10 each, or the 3-part series for $25. Purchase the series and schedule a talk presentation for your school, daycare, church, or organization today at talkconsulting.net.
And we are back. You guys are locked live to Believers After Dark right here on Saved and the City TV. And up for discussion is good grief. Wow, how can you find the good in grief? Oh, my goodness. And before we went to break, Jolanda had a very, very profound question about, and if you want to reiterate a little bit, and then I want to say Pastor Pam. I feel like it might be coming.
Hey, we pastor in different capacities.
Yes, exactly.
So, hey, but I wanted to know, because you're not in this room, but I'm hoping you can sense it just from watching. There's a very just the atmosphere here.
Yeah.
You can sense the strength in this room. But if you can share with people, how did you reconcile yourself to the Father, your relationship with God, and just the whole concept of losing your husband in the place where you served? And then even reconciling him beyond the relationships of those that you had expectations from, and the Father met those expectations. I need to hear it.
I need to hear it too.
Awesome. Wow. It was not easy at all. I just had to remember, initially I was literally emotionally battling within, and even calling people and writing people letters and trying to get an understanding of how do you leave someone at a time, when they really need you. So initially when my husband first passed, on first Sunday, I'll never forget, it was Super Bowl Sunday, and I remember the grieving process, the denial, like really can't believe that this was the Sunday he went to church and he's not coming back home. Yeah. And then I just, I had to particularly stop going to the place of worship that I worship at because of the traditions were so raw. The traditions of certain songs and certain things that the pastor did. I literally had to stop going to the church that I attended, and I began to worship. When I did, I think I didn't worship for about 2 or 3 months. And I knew that it was the trick of the enemy to try to keep me from going to church, because I worshiped as a child all my life, and so that's all I knew. But it was difficult for me to go to the house of the Lord because that's where it happened at.
Yeah, in the pulpit.
In the pulpit.
What?
In front of everyone on a Sunday morning. So I just, when I did go back, I went to churches that were traditionally not like the churches that I was accustomed to, because I felt like I could heal there because of the
different.
It was different, no questions. The people that I knew that didn't really mean me any good or weren't there for me, I didn't have to see them on a regular basis. And so I went to different churches, non-denominational churches that didn't have anything to do with what I was accustomed to, because I think that's what the Lord was telling me to do at that time so that I could heal. Yeah. Like I wouldn't have been able to go back to the church to revisit every Sunday at that place, him doing that. I didn't think that I could heal that way. Even though in my mind I was like, I'm going to stay here at this church until they get a new pastor. The spirit didn't feel right in me. I did go a couple of times. It just didn't feel right. The people didn't feel right. It was too much of a spiritual battle for me to deal with going through the emotional loss that I dealt with. So I chose to go to other places until about a year or so later, until I was able and strengthened enough to go back into those traditions. Very difficult to do first communion Sundays. Just totally took myself out of that totally because it was so emotionally raw every first Sunday. But I just had to trust God and His promises, and He said that He would never leave us or forsake us, and that He wouldn't put more on us than we can bear. And I would say to myself, but God, we were only together for 5 years. We only pastored for 2 years. But God knew the plan that He had for my life prior to me marrying Him. And so I had to know that He knew that February 1st, 2009 was going to happen. He knew that I was going to be His wife, and He knew that I was going to, the things that I was going to have to deal with. And I just had to pray a lot, and I had to let go of people and their expectations, because the more that I held on to their expectations of what I thought they would be, it hurt me. It still hurts now emotionally because I have people that I've let go of, but if I keep holding on to them, they don't call me. They don't pick up the phone on anniversary days and say, how you doing? They don't say, hey, can you come by for dinner, knowing I'm a single woman, knowing I'm home alone. So I had to let those relationship with my stepdaughter, like we raised her for 5 years, and now she leaves to go back with her mom. I haven't seen my daughter since my husband passed away. So there's literally things that I had to let go of and literally let God deal with. When Psalms 37:1 says that, He fret not for evildoers, literally I had to allow the word to, get in that word and just let it manifest in my soul. Like, this is not a physical fight. It's a spiritual fight. And I wouldn't be equipped to do it. So I just came to the resolution that, God, you said in your word that you wouldn't leave me. And I'm trusting you at your promises, and this is what I need from you. And just really sticking to my family. I went to counseling, spiritual counseling, clinical counseling, and just really, it was not easy at all. It was not an easy thing at all. I find myself just, even now, still feeling alone, going through the processes, but still feeling alone at times, but knowing that I'm never alone because He's always with me. But I think it was really we go to church, we go to Bible study, we go to Christian education classes. We do those things for years, but at some point in time, we have to put those tools and we have to utilize those tools that we learn.
Oh, wow.
We have
Yeah,
to utilize
right. That's
those
good.
things. And I think if it wasn't for the foundation that was laid, even when I was married to my husband, I think I grew so much 5 years spiritually, even throughout all my life, the 5 years that I was married to him. And I believe that God was preparing me. I knew that I was going to marry him. I knew that in my heart that it wouldn't be a long, lengthy marriage. But after 2 or 3 years, I thought, maybe not. Maybe I didn't get that inkling. He told me that my ministry was going to be dealing with hurting women, but I didn't understand at the time that this grief that I was going to go through was going to help me, not only help me to heal, but it was going to help other women that I came in contact with to heal as well.
Wow. I love you, Pam.
Wow.
Jeanette.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm literally fighting back tears.
Kenya, Pam, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, 2017, my brilliant son, Joshua James Richardson, his stage name was J.J. Ritchie. He first released a song called You Are Not Alone. The second song was Look Into My Soul. And the third song was Get Down. It was doing very well. He was doing very well. April the 9th, 2018, I had did Uncommon Sense with Jeanette's show.
Yeah.
And I think, if I remember correctly, it was about love and forgiveness. And less than an hour later, my brother called.
Can't even imagine.
My son was gone. He said, he's gone. I'm like, what Joshua do? He left the house. He was real feisty. You guys make him mad.
Yeah.
He said, no, he's gone. I'm like, well, where did he go?
Yeah. That's not the thought. Yeah. That.
And then he finally used the word died. People say they can't imagine, and I'll tell them, you can't.
You can.
And don't even try.
15, 18?
4 days before his 19th birthday. So, a lot of that period was blurry, but what I threw myself into, I said that I wanted his service not to be about a grieving mother, his homegoing, his celebration. So I begged God, don't let it be about me.
Yeah.
I want it to be about Joshua and his Jesus.
Yeah.
And so for that period of time, it was about 2 weeks, I dove into his service. And it was, people still talk about it and say it was one of the most beautiful homegoings they'd ever been to. And it didn't even seem, outside of his casket being there, he was a praise and worshiper. And the praise and worship was in the service. It was just, the anointing was thick. You could cut it with a knife. Yeah. So you taught us to be raw, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I got up in the service and I spoke. And one of the things that stands out to me, I said, I will not charge God foolishly. Wow. I said it, and at the time I meant it. Time progressed. And it started getting a little deeper. I noticed I kept asking people to pray for me, but I would not pray. And I was going to service, I think similar to what you said. I love worshiping. I used to be on the praise and worship team. I could not sing.
Yeah.
I would listen.
Yeah.
And I remember in my mind saying, I don't know if this is for me. I feel like if they was talking about how God loves them, I would sit there in my mind and go, I think you love them.
Yeah, I get that.
So eventually what came to me, and it started off with, I'm going to say his name, Richard King. I used to be on the praise and worship team with him, and I think he noticed. I'm talking, I wouldn't even lip sing it. I would be like, just standing there. I couldn't, because one thing I am not is a liar.
Yeah.
I can't say to you something I don't mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it reminds me of one time my mother bought a card for someone in my family on my behalf, and I read it. I'm like, I can't give them this.
Yeah.
I don't feel this way.
Yeah.
So I'm really particular about what I say, and even to God. he came to me in the hallway. He said, I got to tell you something. And I think I was on my way to New York. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing what happened after my son passed. I was doing some traveling. So that kept my mind off of stuff. He said something to me that just, it sort of cracked what I had been ignoring. He said, God said, how can you expect him to heal your heart when you're holding a dagger to his? Ooh. I was like, hold on. I'm not holding a dagger to God's heart. Wow. I said, and I was looking, I said, I still believe. And I was like, ugh. So I got home. I had not spoken directly to God for weeks.
Yeah, I get it. I get that.
And so I said to God, I said, I'm not holding a dagger to your heart, but I just don't think you have much consideration for me anymore. Because not on top of my son passing, that same year, I have two sons, Joshua and Josiah. My son Josiah has been diagnosed with autism. So he started going through something in January. Well, once his hero, Joshua, passed, he went off the charts.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about serious crisis situations where police had to be called.
Wow.
So actually, the day we buried Joshua, the next day I was getting socked in the face by Josiah. So I said, God, I just don't, because I said I still believe in prayer because I'm asking for everybody else to pray for me.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like you have much consideration for me anymore. But after I said that, I said, I don't want to feel this way about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to feel this way about you. Time progressed. Raw, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I did have a period where a person that did stick with me and was supporting me, I started drinking. If anybody think alcohol is going to help your grief.
Oh, gosh.
I did find that out quick. And I'm like, oh, this is not the route to go.
Yeah.
But then in the end of November is when it hit me. That's when the depression part came out, where I felt empty and I was not sure I still wanted to be here. And it was basically how can I live with this? I said, how do you expect me to live with this? And when I say I've cried. I just stopped crying every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord.
But I still cry. But I distinctly remember one night, and this is for me when my healing started. I said, God, I know I'll never be the same from when I got that call.
Oh, yeah.
So since I have to change, make me better. Since I'm empty, fill me.
Ooh, shit, man. Oh, shit. Yeah. Yeah.
Then what came out, I realized I had trust issues with God before this happened. I had trust issues with him from a little girl. I remember my mom, I'm one of those kids, I grew up under the bench doing shut-in. My mother would bring a blanket. I had a little pillow.
Because I can see you like, that's life.
That's life.
I'm under
this is
the
what we
bench.
do.
But I remember I was a child that I always thought very intensely, and I always listened to the word, and I was really attracted to the love of God. So as a child growing up in church, and now, because I asked God to take me back to when I stopped trusting him, because I remember it was a time I would think about God. I just adored him. I felt like God could do anything. And so I said, when did I stop looking at you with a side eye?
Yeah.
In the midst of working in the church, there was still a trust issue.
Yeah.
When I was 7 years old, someone molested me. And I remember that icky feeling, and then going to church and hearing about and all the good things that happen to you. And then the enemy used that as an open door, then other stuff. Boom, boom, boom. So in the midst of being in church and saying, God, I trust you, and my eyes, you know, you're an awesome God, I still was looking at him side-eye.
Yeah.
So what is my son, him deciding, he decided he would be born, and he decided when he would leave. Wow. And I didn't have consideration for that because that was between my son and God. So after that came through, now I will say, which is the oddest thing to me, I have the most solid relationship with God I've ever had. Because I'm not looking at him side-eyed anymore. I'm not in church, and I think about it. I'd be singing the song, but sometimes I was like, but I'm not sure if it's for me. It's like I always thought that he had a little bit more consideration for other people than me, and almost feeling like a martyr.
Wow.
You know, because of different things. So, you know, it's, you know, I was looking at, you guys sent that beautiful write-up about grief, and as I was reading it, it touched me. And when I was reading it, and then it was talking about bargaining, I said, I don't think I bargained, but what I did is I made false accusations towards him. So for me, I'm now, the biggest thing I do is, first of all, I realize this: the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So with the death of your husbands, with the death of my son, with the death of that young girl you talked about today, that is an opportunity for him to come in and to destroy all of our purpose. Everything we're supposed to do. He planned on the passing of my son was supposed to pass my purpose.
Oh, yes. That's what happened with my father. Yes.
The passing of my son was a girl that already had questions to her father. And now you do allow the absolute worst thing that could ever happen in my life. And I'm already having trust issues with you. The enemy thought, this is it. We know we got her now. But God has turned it around.
Woo!
And when I tell you, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, after going through there's nothing else worse that can happen to me than looking at my beautiful, my son was a bodybuilder. He
was so handsome.
Yes.
I've seen pictures.
Wonderful. Looking at him and tucking him into a casket. I tucked my son in just like when he was a baby. I wanted that to be my last. I'm tucking you in. Someone said to me, and they didn't understand, when I seen him for the first time, and I was screaming, because up until I seen him, I kept thinking, this is a mistake. I'm going to walk in this room. This is going to be somebody else. They made a mistake. Joshua always joking around. I remember talking to him, you joking around. This not you. And when I seen him, someone said to me, and I know they meant well, and I could attest to you, people, please counsel people on what to say to people. Because I've had some people say some real off stuff to me. But this person in the meaning harm, they said, that's not him anymore. You can't disregard. That's the body that came out of me.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's still the flesh and blood that came out of me. That's the flesh and blood that I hugged, that I kissed, that I nurtured. Don't disregard his body. Just because his soul is no longer there. I had some beautiful interactions with that body. Please don't disregard it. So I'm not looking at God's side-eyed anymore. Even still, I think after you sent me the invitation, my younger son, Josiah, who's going to be healed in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name, he's going to be healed. Had an episode the day after.
Wow.
It was the worst episode I've had with him, and he actually physically harmed me. And I still don't look at God side-eyed. I realized that these two boys, I had Joshua for almost 19 beautiful years. I have Josiah still here for 15 years. Everything he needs, God said, I can do it. And that scripture, I had a joke about that. He won't put more on us than we can bear. I was like, I had a period. I disagree. I'm sorry, God. I disagree. But now I say, okay, sometimes right after this stuff happens, I said, you said you won't put more on me than I can bear. You must think I'm a heck of a woman.
Wow.
And then, and quickly what I want to say is this. The enemy tried very hard to make me think I was cursed.
Yeah.
And something was wrong with me. You know, I still see mothers with their sons. And sometimes you start comparing yourself to other people. I was somebody that went 100% into my kids. And you did all this, and then you see some of these neglectful mothers, or you see, why is that boy still living? He's stealing from people. He robbing. Who shot the little girl? Why is he still living? Why are these people still starting to live? You know, they're allowed to live. But my son is gone. My son fulfilled his purpose. And I have to believe that. And I know anytime the enemy come to me, I am not cursed. My sons are a blessing.
Amen.
And God gave them to me. And whatever I have to deal with both of them, God has equipped me. And it's all for a reason.
Oh, my goodness. Yolanda, can you kind of wrap us up? Yeah. And even if you want to, you know, toss them back to them before we close out. Yes.
Yeah, no, perfect. First of all, the strength in this room, I cannot stop saying
I am trying my best to hold it together because I want to lay out.
Absolutely amazing. And there's so many things. Like if you ladies ever want and or need to have an opportunity to sit with me, I would love to sit with you for so many reasons. You hit so many amazing points, even in your healing process. So when we experience wounds, and you notice how you begin to look at God, there's always a place that came from. And so for you to have the ability to go back and say, wait a minute, this side I started when I was 7.
Yeah, that
Let's heal this 7.
That's transformational.
So then we can really heal this loss, you know? And it's important that we all know with grief, God ain't tripping about your side eye.
Yeah.
He wants your side eye. You know, what he does not want is for us to give the side eye and be afraid to show it to him. Like, I'm side eyeing you, but don't look. Yeah. He's well acquainted with our grief. He does not get hurt when we say, why did you do this? Yeah. This ain't cool. So I appreciate just your surrender and your willingness to do something that's called lament before the Father, to pour out before him. Jesus did it in the garden. Why can't we do it?
Right.
Grief is real.
And it changes you.
What you have to do, it absolutely changes you. And the depth, it's layers to this thing.
Yeah, that's the point I wanted to bring out.
It's layers in the relationship. And the ministry, the business that you're going to have to just reach women is going to be absolutely phenomenal because you were willing to do the work. In grief, there's nothing wrong with leaving your familiar surroundings to go somewhere else to heal. Right. You don't have to heal where you were hurt. Yeah. Just the fact that you heal is what matters. And for most of us, we cannot heal where we hurt. Right. And once you begin a process, if you are released to go back and celebrate your healing, then do that. But if you're not, that's okay too. And there's nothing wrong with that. I absolutely just love your perspective on really understanding the reality that death it's around us. We cannot avoid it. We can't control it. We can't manipulate it. When it's that time, it's that time. And so how are we using these moments? I'm sure both of you ladies could just look back and like, man, I know I used that moment well. So use your moments well that we have with those that we love. And when people are grieving, give them the space to grieve. Yes. If you don't know what to say, don't say anything at all. The best word spoken is your presence. That is the absolute. And ladies, would you? The best word spoken is your presence.
Yes. That's usually the preferable because we're not looking for you to tell us
Yeah.
You understand.
Yeah.
It's just that you love us and you're there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
You
And show up a month later.
Yeah.
Ring the phone 2 months later.
Yeah, and you said that. That's what stood out to me.
That's when it's
Yeah.
They
needed.
disappear.
Yeah, I just want to say this really, really
Yes,
quickly.
yes.
I think what people don't factor into the whole death process is the death of relationships surrounding
You kind
the
of touched
person.
on that, yeah.
And working in ministry, when you give, there's, even though you don't feel entitled, you really believe that there will be a reciprocal.
Yeah.
You know, into the relationship.
Yeah.
Like, certainly, I've poured out my life to these people.
Right, certainly.
Someone will bring me a soda or
Something.
a meal or call
Yes,
me every
yes.
For a
once in
few
while.
weeks.
Or
Right.
you know,
But everybody drops off at the same
Right.
time.
and
when
it's
you
like,
really need them.
it's like
Month 2.
when you, and that's what the thing about love is. You have to
too.
love without attachment. Like every love, all the love you give got to just be because you want to give it. I'm just giving y'all this. I
Yeah.
don't care if you give it
Yeah.
back. If you
Yeah.
don't, I'm just giving.
Yeah.
Giving.
Yeah.
But we are trained to believe that people love us back, and that when people love you back, they behave a certain way, and that does not happen. And so that can be such a devastating blow when you've been taught that this is the way, when you've structured your life around service, and
Yeah.
you've been taught that this is how it's going to go for you, because that's the way you've behaved towards the people who are in service to
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
So you believe that that actually is going to happen.
Yeah.
When it doesn't, those are just different layers of death that happen in that
Yeah.
situation. So like, yeah, that's rough.
No, and Kenza, but I'm going to say before we make your point, just tell the folks how they can connect with you in this particular vein, one of the hats that you've worn, but you also are an amazing, just prolific writer, singer, so many things. How can people be connected to you? And then, Jolanda, we can...
All of my social media
Well,
is
actually, we'll come to you.
Kenza Dawn, Facebook, Twitter, that I'm not as active at, but
That's okay.
as my book actually gets released, I will be more active on Twitter as well.
Come on, book.
But Facebook and Instagram. So the book is Jewels and Tools. It's coming to you.
I'm excited.
So it's my random musings and perspectives on life.
Yes.
And all that good stuff. But yeah, Kenza Dawn, Kenz as in zebra, DAWN. So that's on my social media.
Absolutely love it. And thank you so much for just being transparent and sharing some of your story with us.
It's my pleasure.
And then,
My
Pam.
honor.
See two amazing, strong women in front of me.
Yes.
All in the room, and so I get
Make sure you get in the
energy
mic.
and strength from your stories, and so thank you.
And how can they? You do something outside? What did you say that you do now?
It's
Lisa?
SIS, Sisters Inspiring Sisters.
Yes,
It's a
tell us
ministry-
about it.
It's
Yeah.
a ministry that was birthed out of losing my
Yes.
husband, and it's just to inspire other women going through. It is not like a set. I need to get more active on Facebook and Twitter and stuff, but it's really there to support other women, and other people that are going through, and let them know that they're not alone, because I felt so alone. And so it's just there. I'm going to get better with all the other avenues, but you can contact me. Right now, Pamela.moore0106@gmail.
Come on and email her.
Yeah, or Pamela Pam Moore on Facebook.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And Jeanette, the encourager.
That's one of my pages. Jeanette, JeAnnette, and then one word, the encourager, and Richardson. And then my show is every Monday at 8 p.m. It's Uncommon Sense with Jeanette. That is the name, Uncommon Sense with Jeanette. And then a unshameless plug. Jeanette, the realtor.
Yes, for the
Richardson.
realtor.
So you want a
Money in
real
these
realtor
pockets.
that's going to be real. You want to come our way. And real quick, I want to just ask everybody that's watching, please, when someone's grieving, don't say they're in a better place. We're not grieving because our loved ones are in a better place. Right. We're grieving because they're not here.
Real.
Jolanda, final thoughts, and then again, how people can connect to Talk Consulting.
Yes. So definitely, if you've watched the show and you've seen some of the announcements about it in terms of talking about good grief, and you're trying to figure out how can grief be good.
Yeah, thank
you
you.
see these strong ladies sitting here at the table. One thing that we talked about is that grief has its purpose, but it also has its limits. Grief does not have to consume you, but there is a process to it, and a process that you have to walk through. She mentioned something very powerful, Pam did, that sometimes those around us cannot handle our grief. So it's not that they don't love you. It's not that they
That's
don't
good.
want to be present. I also just want to introduce that perspective that when I don't know what to do with your pain, I have to move away with it.
Yeah.
But for those of us that are believers, and this is Believers After Dark, I know somebody who is well acquainted with your pain and who's not afraid of it.
Wow.
So grief can be good. If you need help processing, contact me at talkconsulting.net.
Oh my God. Well, I thank you all so much for joining us on Believers After Dark. And again, thank you ladies for being so transparent and sharing your stories. Hopefully this show gave you a little hope. If nothing else, showed you that you're not alone in this. You know, we've all grieved something here or there, or if you haven't, keep on living, as my grandmother used to say, you know, but I love that you can see that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is good on the other side of grief, you know, if you just keep on walking. And so again, I'm appreciative of everybody that sees this platform as something that they can get something from, you know, and I'm so blessed. And so to God be the glory for that. So that's all we have for you on tonight. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next week, be encouraged. Love you guys so much.